you can't really train person to people have a good heart, so you got to hire them with a good heart. I have some concerns that I'm going to work with John Thompson from when he gets elected next year on broadening the pool of people that we can hire. But you need a variety. You need some technical people. Some people love the technology.
283.
Some people love being on the street.
The transit would not be responding. I've updated now that they are there with the con.
We're here at White Bear Avenue.
We're out there with her.
I'm gonna go south for a little bit.
420, we show me level 532.
So anyhow, it's a pleasant night. It's when it's pouring rain or snow, it's not quite so pleasant. But when it's 84 degrees, it's nice being out here. I'm surprised we haven't had more calls. I will tell you that there's a lot of cars. Just looking at the screen here, there's I don't know. I suppose there's 30 calls right now in the city. Nothing totally major, and another 10 calls in the queue pending. The lower priority calls are just kind of held for a while.
Was made. Can you recall this from a burglary two-way suspicious and clarifies? And then can you show up and then assist in the same address, please?
So this is Case. Now, when you're going northbound on White Bear Avenue or any street, for instance, and you get to Maryland, you're going to find that Maryland is 1200. Okay? And so if you go a half a mile south of Maryland, remember 240 numbers south, you're going to run into Case. This Case is a half mile south of Maryland. It's 240 numbers, so Case is 960. So relatively quiet. I'm going to turn I'm going to pull over, and I hear a few beeps or some questions. So I'm just going to pull over here. We're just south of Maryland. So, all right. Somebody asked who is with me. No one's with me. I'm by myself. I do patrol with other people sometimes, but not so much during COVID. COVID has changed, everything that we're doing. I usually work the streets for about 4 hours, usually about 10 to 2. But tonight it might be a little earlier. My son's got a football camp in the morning that I got to get him to. So here's a question. Could I explain the difference between the police department and the sheriff's department? All right, I'm going to drive while I answer that. That's a great question. So every city, every municipality has the right to have their own police department. And many do. 300 in Minnesota. Many have their own police departments. And the police departments are responsible for responding to calls for service, investigating crimes that occur in those areas. So that is the primary job of the police department. So the sheriff's office, there's one sheriff in every county. There's 87 counties in Minnesota. And the sheriff's office has a set of mandates in statute. One is to run the jail.
Squad 376.
So when people bring prisoners to the jail, when they arrest somebody, they bring them to the sheriff's office at the jail. That's number one. Number two, court security. We're very involved with court security. I'm just going to turn up Flandreau here. I was kind of avoiding going to that call. Remember that call where the man and the woman were fighting in the 900 block of Flandreau? I think the squad's already been here and cleared, but just in case, we'll just go up there a little further ahead. So, sheriff's office has the jail and has court security for all the judges bringing the prisoners to court and protecting the court, etc. the third mandate really is running water patrol. And the sheriff's office is responsible for the water. In fact, as you know, yesterday night we recovered an 11-year-old boy down in Hidden Falls. And so had been drowned a couple days earlier. The terrible thing is we haven't released his name, but there'll be a story in the morning paper. I think the family's talking to the media. Terrible thing. People should stay out of rivers. They're just very dangerous with currents and undertows. So you got jail, courts, and water patrol. Now here's what gets interesting. If a city chooses not to have a police department, they can contract with the sheriff's office. And 7 cities in suburban Ramsey County have chosen to do that with us. So we provide primary police service for 7 cities. And those cities have changed over years. Some cities decide to go with a different city. You know, of course, after the Philando Castile case, we took over in Falcon Heights as well. So we are the primary police agency for about a third of the county in the suburbs up there. So then the other thing is, if there's regional problems such as narcotics, the sheriff's office provides what's called the regional task forces, where all agencies participate to combat crime problems such as drugs, violent offenders, etc. So the police department have their role. Any of the cities that we provide service for at any point could say we're going to provide our own police department, but they find it's more efficient to have supervision. Instead of every city having a sergeant working, we might have one sergeant working that supervises 7 cities. So that was a great question. There's probably some other nuances there too, but so I am going to pull over again so I can legally look down at a text and answer a couple other questions. I'm at 7th Street, as you know. There's a detour up ahead, but I think I can still pull over here and get some questions in here. All right, so next question. Am I in a marked car? I am not in a marked car. However, I have complete lights, front, back, couple different sirens. So this squad's fully capable of responding. It has stop sticks as well for pursuits. Of course, some of those people saw that light and they're stopping. So, but it's a fully capable squad car. It is pursuit rated. It is pursuit rated as well. All right, so explain the mask order. I'll try to get that explained sometime today. Mental health workers and substance, trauma, forensics. We see challenges between our clients and officers. This includes how clients are approached despite staff advocating. How can the community, well, we're definitely going to have to figure out a way to get mental health workers working side by side with law enforcement officers. We either got to start training mental health people to be cops, or we got to pair them up. And because it's a huge issue, 70% of the people in our facility, 70% of the people in our facility have mental health issues. I'm going to keep moving here so we can get the radio on. We can maybe get you in the middle of something going on as well. But the mental health, the chemical addiction, let's just face it, there's 3 key issues in our jail. The people in our jail, 75% of them aren't functionally literate to be able to read and succeed outside. 80% have some form of chemical addiction, drug of choice, and 70% have mental health issues. So there's lots of work to be done. We do train our officers. We've been doing that for years. 20 years ago, some people with mental health got injured. But and In some
You can put them back up on three.
some cases were shot. I mean, there's been, you're aware of the Barbara Snyder Foundation. I mean, there's just tons of work that needs to be done.
366.
Problem is, you know,
366.
these officers out here
You put me on that.
have to have so many different skill sets.
Echo,
And,
Echo,
you know, the things can change dramatically in the course of,
06 at the end.
you know, I've only fired my gun once at, so it's a car involved in a robbery at the Clark station back on Rice Street. Most cops will never fire their gun, but I'll say this, you know, it's, I guess I did fire a warning shot once. The warning shots used to be legal back in the 80s. But the cops today, it's far more dangerous now than it was back in the 70s and 80s. The level of weaponry that's out there is just threefold as bad as it used to be
I do.
before the gang and drug problem evolved.
170 to copy and route to now 1 calling Concordia 242.
I'll see if I can get back on a main street there. It's a little more interesting when you got a little more light. Like I said, this is our first time with this show, and appreciate you tuning in and having interest.
532.
You never know what's going to happen out here. You just,
532.
that's part of the great thing about being a police officer.
Mark this is stop underneath that PCN. Marked for 420 283 in transit.
The variety of what can happen and what does happen. It
Copy.
keeps the job interesting. It's sad to see that so many Minneapolis officers are leaving the career. I don't really know personally any of their leaving, but I know from reading the news reports that that whole incident was, that 3rd Precinct had an impact on them as well. But by and large, I think police officers come on this job because they want to help people. I mean, you know, I was in Boy Scouts as a younger person, and you want to find a way to be there to help people when they're in need, and this job does provide that. There's nothing better than having the look on a person's face when you help them. I remember a couple times in my career that I helped people that